I love the Ice Age movies. They have been around since 2002, and I still like Ice Age to this day. The film series is actually quite one of my favorite film series to watch, alongside with Shrek, as well as The Godfather, etc. I personally found my very special place in my heart for Ice Age. Ice Age I came across with many different movies, the recent one being The Adventures of Buck Wild, which recently came out last year. I've not seen it yet, so I can't say if I like it or not. You know, for any of you guys who want context, it's basically about this trio of mammals from the Ice Age period, such as Manny the Mammoth, Sid the Sloth, and Diego the Saber-toothed Tiger. What is this, you may be asking? Well, they basically go on adventures and they go get themselves into some sort of trouble where they end up having to solve their problems whenever it came to something going wrong, or in this case they have an adventure and they end up having to survive. They survived a lot of different stuff, such as, for example, the dinosaurs, the flood, the pirates, the asteroids, that type of thing. I remember watching all the movies on VHS and DVD. I personally like them all. They're still pretty good films. I do remember watching them a lot of times, and they're still fun movies. Whenever I was turning a different age, I would always watch Ice Age as a reminder of my childhood. Of course, we got really good actors like Ray Romano, who's Manny, John Leguizamo, who's Sid, and we have Denis Leary, who plays as Diego. Now, there was this one movie that I saw that no one had ever seen. It was not even released to the public, as only the Ice Age cast and crew have seen. I was lucky to see this one movie that was never been made to be released to the public. What is that movie, you may be asking? Well, I'm going to go ahead and explain that in a little bit. Now, to give it a little bit of context as to what this movie is, let me fill you in on a few things. Now, to be fair, I am going to be honest that I was trying to make an attempt if there is a movie that I have not seen. Since there may be a movie of Ice Age I have not seen, I started to go scroll through the internet. Of course, we only saw all the movies, and they had really good actors, and nothing was changed. However, though, there was something about it that kind of cuts me right in half. I went on a forum about maybe a few months ago on a Discord server, and some people were talking about this really, really weird Ice Age movie that was never released to the public. Now, I don't even know if those rumors were true, so the only way I can disclose what's going on is if I contact somebody from Fox themselves. I tried seeing if I can get in contact with any of the cast or crew members, see if they have any information, but little to no luck at all. I didn't have anything to pretty much prove my point if it ever were to be the case. However, with a little bit more, I ended up managing to get across Chris Wedge, the director who directed the first Ice Age film. Of course, I had to connect with other directors since there were different directors there was another director for the other Ice Age films. There was a few other directors who directed, such as Ice Age Continental Drift. So after I contact many people, I ended up messaging them, asking them questions about the movie, and asked them certain questions. After asking people certain questions about the movie, I ended up getting a little bit of a response from one of them. One of the directors said that this movie was a little violent and I honestly didn't know if that was actually true or not. However, I decided to ask them if there is any proof that there is this movie that does exist, and of course, with that being the case, and with that being said, Ed, of course they said to me, and I quote, I do have at least a VHS tape of the Ice Age movie, and this one, however, is pretty dark. I couldn't really understand why this one was hidden away, but maybe I thought these people were making it up on Discord. However, I waited for at least a few days, and I got an email from one of the directors on my Gmail while I was looking through my Gmail, since I was getting rid of old junk mail, stuff I didn't really care for, that type of thing. I saw the folder was an MP4 file saying Ice Age Dark Movie. I honestly opened the file and there was no thumbnail or anything. It was a pretty normal start, with Scrat with his acorn, the usual funny stuff. It was just usually the way he was with his acorn. However, the movie starts off with Manny. Manny seemed to be pretty normal for the most part, but then he started mumbling something under his breath. I don't know why he was mumbling, but something was really off. I ended up looking over to see that there was this one scene in the movie that really kind of threw me off guard. I looked over to see that there was a woman, and of course it was a female mammoth. She wasn't Ellie or anybody else I knew. She was just a random character that was in the movie. She ended up looking like she was drunk and looked like she kind of was beaten up. I thought maybe these people were just trying to fuck around with the movies, just to kind of piss people off, so to speak. However, that wasn't the case. I ended up going around and seeing that this woman, this female mammoth was staring. She seemed to have a menacing grin on her face, and I honestly didn't know why. She disappeared when Ellie came on screen, and Ellie asks Manny if there was a problem, but Manny was just shaking it off. The film seemed to be going normal with Peaches married to Julian. Yes, I know this looks like it took place after the fifth film. And of course, I saw that there was this one man who mailman myth, and he almost looked like Ellie, but except the trunks were broken and he looked like he was bleeding. Honestly, I didn't even know how that happened, and blood was never in Ice Age, so maybe there might have been something I'm missing. I couldn't exactly be 100%. However, Ellie and Manny seem to be talking about something when Sid comes around and he starts acting like an idiot, as typical as he is. Everything seemed to be pretty normal. However, when it got to the part where Crash and Eddie were doing their own thing and Ellie and Manny were just chilling, it then cuts to Diego and Shira. Diego and Shira were just acting normal, and they did talk about some certain things, but the audio was so garbage that I couldn't really understand what they were saying. It was like it was been played underwater or something. I ended up looking over to see that there was this one man who looked like he was never in the Ice Age films. There were no human characters in Ice Age, so I was kind of confused as to why there was a human man there. This human man looked to be maybe in his mid-30s. Maybe he was a caveman, as around this time period there were cavemen, men, and etc. So maybe that might have had to be it. However, it just didn't really make sense. I just think this film was just made for the sake of being made, and didn't throw or make any logical sense or explanation. However, it wasn't until maybe a few few screen caps later where I see Steffi, who happens to be the leader of the Brat Pack, berating Peaches and bullying her. I honestly didn't really know exactly why, but I know at the same time though is that maybe Peaches was kind of like the oddball. I mean, I knew this was from Almost Like Continental Drift, which I remember that. However though, Peaches started cowering as if, well, she was afraid. Steffi along with Katie and Megan were beating the shit out of Peaches, stamping at her, making her bleed as Peaches cowers in fear. Ethan, however, sees this and gets scolded her and even gets violent. He ended up impaling Steffi a few times with his trunks, and eventually he froze her off until one of her tusks break off. Of course, that just ended there as Steffi and her gang leave, while meanwhile Peaches was rescued, but when she gets home, Ellie was shocked to see Peaches in this state. She asks her what happened, but of course that wasn't the case. She seems to be silent. She wasn't really saying anything, so I honestly was just more confused as to how did everything go from 1 to 100 in quickly. The movie just wasn't making any sense, and in fact there was no exact reason as to why certain things just went to the way they were. This film wasn't making any sense, but there was a ghost of what appeared to be Captain Gut, and he looked like he had a knife. He had a knife close to Ellie's throat, and honestly, he started cutting her throat. Ellie cries out in pain, and I honestly was just more disturbed and shocked because this was never in Ice Age. I knew this wasn't in any of the movies I watched, but maybe I thought somebody was just fucking around, probably just wanting to mess with people's childhoods with the Ice Age characters that we all learned to grow up and love. I ended up trying to shut it off, but just before I was about to go to the exit page, a next scene appears to be Shira. Shira apparently was just clawing her on the ground angrily, while Diego just looked as if he had anxiety. He was curled up into a ball, but there was no absolute reason as to why he was doing that. More scenes of more disturbing parts of the Ice Age characters went on for a while. One of them being Sid ended up getting decapitated by some sort of thing. I'm not even sure if it was a creature or not. And another scene shows the possums getting crushed by Steffi's dead body once she realizes that she gets a heart attack unknowingly, but she realizing what she did was wrong. She falls on top of them and crushes them to death. Of course, that I don't even know exactly how to put it, but it seems that everything was falling apart one way or another. I didn't even know what to do. Of course, this movie wasn't making any sense. It's supposed to be a dark age, which of course that was the name of the movie or something like that, but I didn't even know what the hell I was even looking at, and why were the characters acting not like their character? There was no reason for everything happening. Of course, the next part was about to come. It shows what appears to be a man, that same man I saw with Manny and the others, all dead. Heisha says, "I have killed them all." And it's the reason, because everything dies. We all live at certain points. There's nothing you can do. After that man appeared, the scene then went to black, and that was just the end of the video. I wasn't distraught and shocked, but I honestly didn't understand why certain things happened the way he did, and why the hell was a man in Ice Age killing these guys? There was literally no explanation for it. I ended up reporting this incident to the directors who directed the Ice Age films. I went to the directors that sent me the movie, that fan-made movie, and it turns out that someone had hacked into their website and made a messed up Ice Age film. It was fan-made, obviously, And they honestly put it there as a way to maybe put it as a joke. Now, there is no really clear evidence as to who or what was behind this fan-made movie, but the fan-made movie, I didn't even bother to save it because honestly, I didn't want to watch it anymore. Ice Age had been ruined for me after this, but at the same time, I got out of that as the months went on. Until it was next year in 2014, not 2014, but 2023, I ended up realizing that this is obviously maybe an AI fan movie, and possibly somebody decided it would be a good idea to edit certain clips and maybe just to mess around with the characters, make them not look like their character or act uncharacteristically. There was no reason as to why that would be the case. Now, if I ever had any screenshots, I'd show you for evidence, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to get them. If you ever see a fan-made Ice Age film that was sent to you on email, just don't open it. Like, literally, just don't open it if you don't want your childhood to be ruined. I still get a little bit of night terrors every now and then because of what happened with the Ice Age characters, but I know one thing. The Ice Age characters, the movies, and all that, I'm never giving up on them. And you should never give up on something you truly love, even if something or someone appears to weigh you down on it.